Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
If you've ever dreamed of quitting your job to take your side hustle full-time, listen up. This is Nicaila Matthews-Okome, host of Side Hustle Pro, a podcast that helps you build and grow from passion project to profitable business. Every week, you'll hear from guests just like you who wanted to start a business on the side.
If you can't run a side hustle, you can't run a business.
They share real tips.
And so I started connecting with all these people on LinkedIn, and I saw Target Supplier Diversity was having office hours.
Real advice.
Procrastination is the easiest form of resistance.
And the actual strategies they use to turn their side hustle into their main hustle.
Getting back in touch with your tangible cash and sitting down and learning to give your money a job, like it changes something.
Check out Side Hustle Pro every week on your favorite podcast app and YouTube.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Sewing Club Podcast is coming to you from Meanjin, which is on Turrbal and Yagara country. We pay our respects to elders past and present.
Hey Carly.
Hey Gemma.
How are you?
Pretty good. What you been up to?
You know, a bit of sewing, which is always nice. And stuff at Sewing Gem is going well. We've just restocked some corsetry stuff and we had a big streamlined sale and that all went really well. So yeah.
Are you feeling refreshed and organised and consolidated?
Very much so. I think it was a good move for us. So just looking forward to really expanding out the haberdashery and getting all those niche products that are useful for people when they're sewing.
That's great. Yeah, I know exactly how that feels. We did something similar a couple of years ago and it meant that we could downsize the size of our warehouse, which is really great. And we, stock all the best things and the things that people come to us for. And that's really important. And I was thinking maybe because you do all that corsetry thing, how long do you think we need to wait until we do a corset on the Sewing Club podcast?
I think we could do a basic corset for sure, like just an introduction into a structured garment or corset, you know. I think that would be a great thing to do.
Yeah, like one of those, not the full one, but like the waist cinching little
that's a great idea.
Because I've seen people wear them like over sweaters and they kind of wear them on the outside or over a dress.
Let's do it.
Yeah, cool. All right. If you would like us to do a corset, if you're willing and daring, let us know. That would be great.
The other thing I'd like to say as well to our listeners, particularly those, more local listeners, if you like, if there is anything that you are really struggling to source, particularly in the tailoring or corsetry world, then, please drop us a line. Please drop me a line because we'd love to be able to supply that for you.
Awesome. So send Gemma an email with all your wish list.
I'll do my best.
I am just deep. I feel like I've just been staring at my computer or looking at a computer all day, every day for 8 hours because we're just wrapping up all of our fun projects for the rest of the year. And it'll be good to finally step away from the computer and have way more time to sew, get to sew samples and sew all of our new labels into things. And I actually feel like my body is very tense from, sitting and doing so much computer work.
Yeah, I can imagine. But I have just had a little sneak peek at what is coming from Kylie.
Yes.
And I have to say I'm super excited. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
And I think it was worth it.
Yeah. Should we mention that we have some merch?
I think we should. It's pretty exciting.
Yes, we have Sewing Club socks,
which I'm currently wearing right now, and they're keeping my toes nice and toasty.
Yep, and they're the beautiful pink and blue in our logo. And we've also got some stickers, and you can find them at kylieandthemachine.com and also at sewinggem.com.
That's right. Yeah, so we're really excited to be selling a bit of merch now.
Buy a pair of socks for yourself, and that helps us to grow the podcast.
Yeah, it means that we can, keep doing this hopefully for a really long time, and and hopefully you get to wear a bit of cool merch as well and support the Sewing Club.
Yes, and it's just become a little bit colder here in Brisbane finally, and we're just sewing a tank top today.
For layering.
Yes. Yes. When we started sewing this pattern, it was actually pretty hot, and then now that we're recording it, it's cold again.
Suddenly dropped off, hasn't it? Yeah. Hence why I'm wearing my socks today, because it's a perfect time for that. But yeah, I think that this top though could totally be layered, and you know, it is a tank top, but you know, with a nice cardigan over the top or whatever, it would still work.
And what is the top? What is the pattern?
The pattern is the Ashton top by Helen's Closet.
Helen's Closet. Oh my gosh.
I know. It was pretty exciting getting to speak to Helen and, you know, talk to her about the pattern and Helen's Closet and all sorts of things. It was a real honour to be able to do that.
We have to admit we were a little nervous because Helen is, of course, a podcaster as well from the Love to Sew podcast that we love, and you've probably heard of it. And we were so lucky to talk to her, and she's amazing.
Yeah, it's like the sewing podcast of the sewing world. So it was great to be able to talk to her, and we got some, you know, podcasting tips too, which was great. And it was cool. And
on that note about the weather changing, is that the Ashton top, it used to just be a tank top, and since then Helen has released the sleeve expansion pack. So you can turn your tank into a sleeved top, and there's multiple options.
That's a really good point. And there's some really cute options as well. I was looking at the petal sleeve, you know, there's also, as well as a longer sleeve for the cooler weather. So there's, so many options to make this appropriate for all seasons.
And you can download both the original pattern and the expansion pack with a 30% discount on Helen's website with the code Sewing Club Podcast.
As we said earlier, it was really great to catch up with Helen. Such a great opportunity to be able to do that and hear, you know, all about the Ashton top, amongst other things. I think we spoke for a good hour when we chatted to her.
Could have spoken to her for
longer. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting to hear was how she got to where she is today.
Yeah.
I have been a sewist since a very young age. So I started sewing when I was probably 8 or 9, and my mom taught me, and I took some sewing classes, very classic introduction to sewing. And then as a teenager, I loved, you know, refashioning t-shirts and jeans and going to the thrift store and getting cheap stuff and just cutting it up and ruining it probably, but I had a lot of fun. And then I took a bit of a break as a young adult when I moved out, and I was trying out a couple different careers. I was doing some graphic design, some web development, which both happened to come in really handy for where I ended up. But I was always a big fan of blogs, and I would follow style blogs and craft blogs, and eventually I found sewing blogs. And a lot of people don't know this, but I actually had 2 other blogs before Helen's Closet. I had a personal style blog and I had a crafting blog, and I cut my teeth on those ones. They didn't become anything, but it was really fun just chronicling all the things that I was wearing and making. And then I finally stumbled upon sewing blogs, and I was like, oh yeah, this is it. I need to get back into sewing. So I found indie patterns, and honestly, there was just something about that instruction booklet and the whole process. And it really spoke to me. And I quite literally thought to myself, like, I could do that. Like, I was looking through the booklet. I'm like, I could make these illustrations, and I really like teaching people how to do stuff. I think that comes fairly naturally to me. So it really appealed to me, this idea of creating a booklet that would walk someone through how to sew an entire garment. That was like so intriguing to me. So I did decide to pursue starting a sewing blog for myself, and then also starting a pattern company. And some people may be surprised to learn that I never went to fashion design school or took any pattern drafting courses. I took a couple online things, but nothing serious. And so I muddled through drafting our first pattern, the Winslow culottes, using a drafting book and my illustrator skills in Adobe. But from then on, I work with professional pattern drafters to develop our patterns. So my strengths really lie in, you know, the design and the technical illustration and the sewing. And now, of course, a lot of marketing and behind the scenes administration work.
This booklet is It's like
the best
yeah.
beginner sewing pattern
Yes.
that is out there,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
For sure. And definitely
that I've seen, anyway.
And that we've reviewed, for sure.
Yeah.
People often ask me, hey, Kylie, I would like to learn to sew. What should I start with? I often say they should start with a pattern that has good instructions. And I think from now on, this is going to be the pattern I will suggest.
I agree with that. I mean, it is the perfect beginner sewing pattern, and the booklet really does hold your hand and give you more, all the extra tips along the way. It is amazing.
And we also asked Helen what 3 words would describe Helen's closet pattern.
Ooh, playful for sure. Wearable, because we do love a wearable basic over at Helen's Closet. I like to make the quintessential version of the thing so that the possibilities are endless, and you can hack it any which way and just create anything you want. But that initial experience and fit and design is nice and simple and approachable and wearable. So yeah, playful, wearable, and I'm going to say satisfying, which probably sounds a little strange, but it comes back to that vision for the sewing experience to be satisfying, to be fun, and to be pleasurable. And I want people to finish making the designs and be like, wow, that came together so smoothly, and I learned something, and I had a really fun time. And I live for the captions where people say that the instructions were good. I'm always like, yes.
Well, I can definitely feel those descriptions in her designs. And look, they're really popular. That if you look under the hashtags, there's so many things to see. And I can understand why, because they're very wearable and you are going to get the best instructions from this company, honestly.
It's going to be very hard to go wrong, because she really does, make sure that you know what you're doing every step of the way, and that's really great. And they are, as she says, so wearable and such a good base, like the Ashton top it could be a base, talking about hacks. You could do so many things with that.
Yeah. A woven top is really, that's my jam. Like a woven, simple crop type top, that's right up my alley. I could have 10 of these in my wardrobe and I would be very happy.
Yeah, they're really easy to wear, aren't they? And I think, even, with the sleeve expansion pack, it turns it from just being, that standard top and you've got so many variations there that you can create.
Because this pattern, it is a simple top. It's a tank top woven. It has darts. It comes in 2 cup sizes and 2 finishing options. You have the option of a bias binding finish or a bias facing, and also a full facing, which has got a really cool burrito method to put that together. And we asked her about how to choose, based on the fabric that you're using, which method of finishing would work best.
Yes.
I do think that for rayons or tencel or cupro, anything kind of drapey, those work really well with the full facing method, in my opinion. And if you're working with a rayon print, you can even top stitch that facing down, and that stitching would be nearly invisible. So I love a top stitch facing because then it's not flapping around inside. And on the flip side, rayon bias binding is really annoying to sew. It's flimsy and wobbly and it stretches really thin. So it's just not really fun. So I don't like doing bias finishing with rayon personally. So having that full facing finish in the rayon is really nice. And then I think linen and lightweight cotton work great for the bias facing because they're really satisfying to sew. And again, I like that crinkly edge that happens over time. You can do the full facing with cotton or linen too, but if the linen's on the thicker side, like if you really wanted a super structured, 6 ounce medium weight linen Ashton, then that facing might end up being a little bit thick underneath there, and you might even see it, kind of the edge of it popping out. So I think that the bias finish is better in that case. Even doing the burrito method in a heavyweight linen would be quite challenging. So you definitely want to stick with a thinner fabric if you're going for the full facing, and then for the thicker fabrics you can go with the bias. I also think double gauze is a cool choice, and I'd probably go full facing in this case because I would not sew a double gauze bias binding unless I really hated myself. But you could do a contrast fabric for the bias facing or the full facing. Like, you can always do that contrast moment if you choose something that kind of has a similar drape. Like a soft, lightweight cotton is usually the best choice.
She said that her most popular pattern is the Gilbert top. And the Gilbert top, I knew that it was her most popular pattern because I've heard Helen mention that on the Love to Sew podcast.
Yes.
And when we were looking at patterns, because we haven't done a button-up top.
No, we're working towards it.
Yes. We'll probably throw a button-up top in at some point.
Yep.
And the fact that that top, the Gilbert one, has a camp collar means that it goes together a lot simpler and kind of like less fussing around and than like a tailored shirt.
Good place to start.
Yeah.
And more wearable probably.
Yeah, it's
depending
more
on your
casual
style, but maybe a bit more casual. Yeah.
Yeah, with the tie. Just sort of like how you're wearing your top today.
Exactly.
But the other thing we also talked to her about that was really cool is that she really wants to tell people like why. So not only are you with the instructions, you're finding out what to do and how to do it, but actually why you do it.
Yeah.
And that's important.
And you get a real sense of when you're following the instructions in the booklet, you get a real sense of Helen being a very natural teacher because she doesn't want to just tell you what to do. As you say, she's explaining why you need to do it because she wants you to actually understand the process.
And when you understand the process of why, then you can apply that knowledge for other things and other patterns that you are making that might not have so much information. And then you can understand the mechanics of how garments go together. And I really appreciate that.
You remember it better, you know,
Yes.
because I get why I'm doing this. And that really comes across to me when you're looking through the pattern.
You know, Gemma, I can tell that you're a school teacher.
You never lose the school teacher out of you, even if I don't teach anymore. But yeah, I think it's just ingrained in me.
Yeah, I think if a teacher tells you how and why, it does stick in your brain a lot easier than if it's just this is how you do it and do it this way.
Yeah.
And I feel like more patterns should have that information because knowledge is power, and then you're going to build your skills so much faster. And I think it's possible that you can start from not knowing hardly anything about sewing to picking up a pattern like this, follow it step by step, and then you gain a lot more than just the knowledge of making this one top.
Yeah, and as you say, you can apply it to other garments. And it's the perfect pattern to do it with because it is simple. So you can really drill down on all those steps and exactly how and why you do what you do.
The top does come in a couple of different views. It comes in 2 lengths. And then, as I said earlier, the 2 different finishing options for the neckline and the arm. So what did you do?
I did view B, so the shortened version with the full facing.
I did the same length, so the cropped version with the facing on the hem, and I did the bias facing neckline and armholes.
Which I probably should have done after speaking to Helen, because obviously I'm using a linen here and that would have been better for the facing, but for the bias facing version. But I'm happy with that, I think.
It's lovely.
Yeah, I think it's gone okay. We'll have to see. I haven't worn it a whole heap yet, whether or not the facing annoys me, when it flips out when you're wearing it. And if it does, I'll probably just put a few little tacks in to keep it in place.
Yeah, it's interesting that it is that full facing, and when we say full facing, we mean that there's just one piece for the back and one piece for the front, because some tanks have a neckline facing and then a separate armhole facing, which they're very nice and it looks nice, but there's a lot of work because it's like all these pieces.
Is it all in one facing, I think, when you do it like that. And I prefer the all in one otherwise there's more chance of flapping, which is never good when you've got bits flapping that should be on the inside and you can see from the outside.
Yep.
So yeah, we don't want any flapping. So I'll report back on how I'm going with that. But I've put it on a few times and I don't think it will be a problem.
Good. Did you stitch it down in the...
I did,
okay.
yeah, I did. I just stitched in the ditch to make sure that it stays in place.
And the method in that, where you put this facing together...
is my favourite.
A bit mind-bending and it's got what's called the burrito method.
Yeah.
And it's so nice. You end up with a really finished edge.
It's almost a bit like giving birth to something, I think, as you like pull it out. A bit nicer than giving birth, but you know, it's a satisfying way of putting the garment together for sure. And I think once you've done it a few times and you have got your head around it, I prefer it, you know. And I think the key thing with the burrito method is just making sure that your straps are wide enough to be able to encase everything in. You know.
Listening to this, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but with these instructions, it's very clear and you're walked helpfully through the instructions, and the way that it goes together, it's, I don't know, I my mind is blown by these burrito methods of putting things together, because you end up with having really neat folded edges, and that gives it a nice sort of boutique finish. And then if you want something more casual looking, you can do the bias finish.
And I think that was why I did the all-in-one facing, is I really like the finish, and I prefer not having the extra line of stitching on the arm. I think it looks fine, but if I had the choice, I prefer to not have the second line of stitching to hold the bias down on the arms and the neck. And so that's why I chose that way. I'm just actually flicking now, Kylie, to the in the booklet. The book
just so you know, there's 56 pages of this booklet,
and I'm just looking now for the instructions for the burrito, because I've looked at a few burrito instructions, and sometimes you do look at it and go, "Whoa, what is that?"
Yeah.
But I think this is really clearly demonstrated and shown.
Yeah, I like that you only do the shoulder seams, then you do the neck seam, and it sort of all lays flat.
Yes,
and then you don't touch the side seams until after you've done.
That's right.
And I think that makes it much simpler.
Yeah, I agree.
To understand.
So if you're feeling brave, give it a go, I say. I mean, you've got the perfect booklet here to guide you through it. So
apart from the whole mind-bending things inside out and pulling through and all that, I think that probably it is still easier to get a nice finish.
Yes.
And that's why Helen recommends, if you're doing like a rayon or a silk or something, to do that
as
opposed to the bias, which can kind of have a mind of its own.
A silk bias sort of makes me feel a little bit like, ooh, that's going to be hard to work with.
Yeah, definitely.
It's going to stretch out more. It's not going to be friendly necessarily.
Exactly. And I did mention this to Helen when we spoke to her, that there is a certain method that I'd always used, which is, I think of the methods of things in like brands and the way the different companies explain, because as you all know, I mention it every episode that I basically taught myself through all these patterns. And I found my favorite method up until now, doing this Ashton top, was the Tazudi method, and it was using like a double fold, a single fold.
Kylie, tell us, which top did you make?
Oh, yes. I made the cropped version with the bias facing on the neckline,
the bias,
and then on the armholes as well. And it's a completely different new method to me, mostly because I kind of ignore that part usually and just do the way that I like. But I wanted to follow it exactly because I know there'd be a reason why it's done this way, because Helen's so good, that you actually fold the bias different to what I've ever seen before, and he folded it in thirds.
Thirds?
Yeah. So I think actually folding it and ironing it in thirds is actually pretty tricky, and I didn't actually do that. I got to be honest, but I worked out what was the thirds, and that's how I sewed it. And it was just the way you sew it at like 1 centimeter or 3/8, and then you understitch, always understitch.
Always.
And then you basically just fold it back under itself, and it just fits nicely, and it doesn't add hardly any bulk. And then you're not having to like stretch it too much or, maneuver it too much. And then when you go to iron it, you can just iron it and it just sort of sits nicely.
So if you've got shop bought bias, or, I have my bias tape machine, in the way that the method that you're talking about here, could I use the shop bought or the machine, or was it better just to do it the way that Helen explains in the booklet?
Well, I feel like you could do it anyway. And if you had your favorite method, you could do it that way.
Yep.
So this method is that you cut it, and it's quite a narrow bias strip, narrower than other ones that I've used.
Sure.
And I guess it's 3 centimeters. So it's basically like 3 lots of 1 centimeter.
Yep.
And it just turned out really nicely.
Okay.
And also the way that it joins, which this seems like really simple way of working out where to join the bias, but you basically pin it on, and then when you get to the joining it, you just overlap it by 2 centimeters.
Yep.
And then you know that it's, when you put it together, right sides together, that it's going to be 1 centimeter, and then that joins, and then it all fits nicely.
I'm going to have to give it a go.
Yeah. And I decided that I wanted to give it a go with the facing, the full facing.
Yep.
And I am currently about halfway through my second one. So
tell us, why did you make 2, Kylie?
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
well, I cut the wrong. I cut out the wrong size. I just chose the wrong. I cut out the wrong size, I guess, and I made the size 6, which is like US 6, and thought it was an Australian 6.
And so Sally is the lucky recipient?
Yes. So Sally, who is the coordinator for the podcast, who also gives us the discounts, she's just that one size bigger than me. And so if I make something, she often is the recipient of my cast off. I don't know. What do you call those things?
Yeah, you're I don't know.
Do you have a person that you give things to?
My mum. Yeah,
nice.
She definitely has a few of my things that I make that I like, but I just know that I'm not going to wear them. And so I'm like, here you go, mum. And normally she's like, oh, yeah. So that works out well.
Yeah.
I think she's going to, like, Sally and my mum might secretly start changing sizing on charts so that they end up with more garments.
Yeah. Sally really has a lot of things that I don't wear, and just because I've made the wrong size.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think if I'm going to make something for the first time, I might make it in a size that might be too big, because if it's too big, it's either going to, I still wear it, or I can give it to someone else and then refine the fit, because it's kind of like a toile anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's this beautiful blue linen, but
my favorite color, can I just say?
Yeah.
Like, literally my favorite color.
It's going to look nice on Sally.
Yeah, it's going to look beautiful. I wasn't angling for it there. But yeah.
And then I thought I'll make myself one, and then I'll make the other finish, because then we're talking about the same thing, because, you know, with the small Tron dress, we were making two different dresses almost. So I thought wouldn't even know what you're talking about with the burrito thing.
I'm not sure about the bias, so I definitely need to go and learn about that, the thirds, because I definitely haven't done it in thirds before. So I'm very intrigued.
Neither. I wonder if, you know, Helen just invented that, or whether, you know, it's something I've just never seen it before. I think it's cool.
And going back to your opting to make it in the bigger size, I think that's a good point around, you know, if you're not sure, making it in the bigger size, you're much more likely to be able to alter it to fit you. If you make it in the smaller size, it's pretty obvious, but you're not going to be able to add fabric. Well, I guess you could, but it becomes much more fitting.
Yeah, it's easier just to take in a size
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something.
So if in doubt, I think that's a good way to go.
I mean, most pattern makers would recommend you make a toile or a muslin anyway. And not only is Helen saying, oh, make a muslin, but also when you've made it, try it on and look at all these things, like, does this fit right? Do you like this part of it? Does the shoulder slope work? Do you like the length of it? Do you need to move the darts? Like, it's really, they're all the right questions. And you might not know what questions, or you might not know what to look for.
You sort of stand in front of the mirror and you go, yeah, it's okay, but are you actually looking at those particular details? Like the bust point for me is a massive one. If that is not in the right place, it is not going to look right. And she asks all those questions, and I think that for beginner sewers, intermediate, you know, whatever.
Yep.
Everyone needs to remember those questions when they're looking in the mirror and just checking that they're, you know.
There's lots of tips on altering the fit and the size, and you had to make some bust adjustments?
I did. So the pattern does come with a D cup option, which is amazing. And I think we really appreciate, small pattern companies going to the effort of incorporating D cups in their patterns is just amazing, because that's a lot of extra work. With this particular pattern, it does start from the size 12 and I made the size 8. So I didn't have that option, but I do appreciate that by the way things work, you can't extend that out for every size.
Yeah.
So I did have to do a bust alteration. The other alterations that I had to do was a forward shoulder adjustment and a broad back adjustment. But they're all adjustments that I'm very familiar with having to do because of my shape.
Yeah, so we did ask Helen about that because we were curious, and we kind of had an inkling of why. Because there are 2 blocks that they work from, the pattern makers, and a block is basically, if you can consider it like a mannequin, and that mannequin is the B cup mannequin, and they make the garment for that, and then they grade up and down. And then they have another mannequin that is a different size, and that mannequin has the D cup, and that's more of like the 12 to the 34, I think is where it goes to.
Yep.
And that is why the D cup isn't in the smaller sizes and the B cup isn't in the larger sizes. And it's just because of, that's how it is. And
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
It does. And
we were just curious.
And I think the fact that it's even offered is, is just great. But we were curious to understand why that was, because when we first looked, we were like, oh, that's really strange. Why is that?
Yep.
But Helen explained that to us.
Yeah. And the fact that you get all of these sizes in the one pattern is great. You're not choosing, I would like the, 2 to 10 or the 12 to 34.
The
like
ranges,
you get all of the pattern sizes in the one. So
and it's
great.
a really wide range as well.
Oh,
that is something she does really, really well.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah. Can I just say as well, the other bit of advice I would like to give when we're talking about fitting.
Yes.
You do get better the more you do and the more questions you ask yourself when you look in the mirror. But I would also say there are certain aspects of fitting that you just can't do yourself. So if you have a friend that sews or a mum that sews or someone that can help you with looking at the garment from the back, pinning things, hemming things, I would say that's a really good kind of like way to go about checking fit for things. Seeing yourself from behind is really hard. And when you do fitting, often starting from behind and the back fit is the best place to start.
Oh, okay.
So you do need an extra pair of eyes often to be able to do that well, because the minute you start trying to pin yourself from behind, it's, everything moves, everything shifts, you just can't. So if you do have someone in your life that can help with that, then I don't know, sew something for them or butter them up somehow and get them over. Make them tea. Whatever you can do, because I think that makes life way easier when it comes to fitting.
Yeah. Do you have a mannequin?
I do have a mannequin, but I don't use it for what it's supposed to be used for. It's more like a sort of like coat hanger, I would say.
Yeah, I've got one too, but it's not even my size. But I just like I like putting things on it.
Yeah. We're making something at the moment which I think would look perfect on it,
Sometimes you don't feel like modelling.
But you can pad out a mannequin, can't you, to your size? And I've never done it. It looks like a lot of work to get it spot on. But anyway.
As we know, there's just so many different, it's not just about the bust measurement or the waist measurement. It's about every little part of you. Like you said that you have a broader back and I've got a narrower front, and my waist to hip isn't that different from each other. And, a dress form is going to be a more accentuated female or male shape. It's not going to be necessarily like a regular person.
No.
And it would be even more difficult for people that are the kind of apple shape as opposed to a pear shape, because they all seem to be that pear shape.
Yes.
So if you wanted to make one, you'd have to make it to be like you.
And you can do that. And I think you can get like 3D, body doubles and all sorts of things. But I've never gone down that road. But I don't know, maybe we should. I don't know.
It would be cool to have like a custom made dress form that's exactly your body, like made into a thing.
I don't know if I might find that a bit confronting. I don't know. Looking at myself in the sewing room.
Yeah, because you'd want it to be like, the smoother version, like you put your skims on or something, and then get the 3D scan. Yeah. So it's
And I think the other thing as well is, our bodies change as well. So it's hard, particularly if you're having, I don't know, if you've had babies or whatever it is, things change. And,
maybe an adjustable dress form would be good. Where you can change the size of them. Like if you're feeling bloated one day, you can just make it.
Dial it up.
Around Christmas time, you make one that has a little bit extra room in there so you can have the big Christmas feasts.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we need. Okay.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. We are. It's not even near the middle of the year yet.
No.
So what else about the Ashton top?
I did have one tip that I wanted to give for the people that choose to do the full facing option. Something that I was taught to do by my sewing teacher, and I think this helps to get a really good finish. So when you've sewn in the neckline, the facing to the neckline, I press it at that point and I make sure that my facing on the armholes is about 0.3 smaller than the main garment. And what that does is it helps it to roll in so you don't see facing. And I just press it all out and I make sure that, sometimes things stretch out, and I make sure that the facing is, if anything, slightly smaller than the main garment so that when it's sewn, there's no chance of the facing creeping out. Because if your facing is bigger, there is a chance that you're going to see it more when you're wearing the garment.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like the little spoon and the big spoon.
Yeah, exactly.
You want the little spoon to be on the inside.
In the inside, just very slightly. I mean, we're talking like 0.3 of a centimetre, if that, but just enough to make sure that it's not going to be tempted to roll out.
Yeah, and I believe that technique is called turn of cloth.
That's right, turn of the cloth. Very good.
Yes. The good thing about a facing, when you have a full facing, you have a lot of variety of options with labels because you can sew them directly on there before you attach it to the garment, and then you don't have any of the threads from behind. They're all enclosed inside.
Looks very professional.
Yes, it does.
So which label did you use in your two tops?
Well, the first one I made, I used the little sun with sunglasses, and I also used the No Toile Club, and I put that in the facing of the hem, like in the hem facing.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love all your different ways of using your labels. You need to educate me on this, because I'm always like, I want to be more like Kylie and put my labels in funky places. And I'm like, oh, but I don't know where's going to look good. So
Well, when I did this, I actually took photos step by step. Or maybe even, I think photos or a video. One of those. We'll put it up on the Insta.
Can I say as well, the other thing that I like to use, and you are obviously the label guru here, so please tell me if I'm treading on your toes, but a fabric glue pen just saves you when you come to putting the labels in.
Oh, yeah.
It just makes life so much easier using a fabric glue pen. So that's my top tip.
That is definitely my tip as well. I always use glue because pins, they
move the label.
They move the label, and because the label is generally polyester, and then the fabric we're using is, a natural fiber, and then you've got the pin. When you go to sew over it, it just all gets too bumpy and chunky.
Fights almost.
And then you want that top stitching to be really
It needs to be perfect, yeah.
And speaking of the hem, I love the facing on the hem.
I do. It gives it a weight that is just really nice to wear, particularly that cropped version, I think. Because if you're going to tuck it in, it doesn't really matter. But if you want to wear the cropped version, you kind of need that extra weight that the facing gives it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't ask you what labels you
Oh, I better tell you.
Yes.
So I use Me Made, very classic Me Made, love it. I think it's a new revamped Me Made, is that right?
I don't know. No, that's an old one.
That's an old one.
That's like
an OG.
An OG. Yeah, that's a mainstay. That's not going anywhere.
Cool. Well, I love it.
Yeah, it's just a simple black and white one. So.
It says all it needs to. Yeah.
With the fit of this tank, it's fitted around, your shoulders and the chest area, and then it kind of has a bit of a flare, like an A-line out from there. So it's not fitted on around your waist.
Yep.
So if, you don't want to show off that part, it actually like skims over your belly nicely, and it's really flattering.
It is really flattering. I think if you wear it with, high-waisted pants or whatever, it's not like you're going to be showing your midriff necessarily. No. It just doesn't swamp you, I think, when you wear it, which is what I really like about it.
Or like a nice pair of culottes or something.
Yeah,
or like
exactly.
Those culotte things you're wearing right now. Like, I think it would look really nice with like jeans or leggings even, or flowy skirt.
So many options.
Yeah, really love it. It's just, like I said, woven tops are just my jam.
Yeah.
I would like every colour.
No closure, there's no zip, there's no buttons. It's just, easy.
Just chuck it in the washing machine and then just hang it up, and then it's,
So you don't iron?
Well.
Controversial.
Well. It depends.
Neither
if
do
you
I.
hang it up in the shade, it dries nicely. I always like pull mine out of the washing machine and just hang them up.
Yeah.
And then keep them in the shade, and then they basically iron themselves.
I do think I agree. Good old shakeout as it comes out of the washing machine on a hanger, job done most of the time.
That's how I wash all my kids' uniforms.
Yeah, me too. I do have a question for you though, because Helen leaves it up to you whether or not you want to use interfacing or not in the facing.
Yeah.
Did you use interfacing?
No.
No, neither did I.
And I don't think it's necessary.
I agree.
I suppose it depends on the fabric.
On the fabric.
But because interfacing has usually got, polyester, or, if it's non-woven, or even if it's woven, it's got, I don't know, it just feels like an extra layer that doesn't need to be there, or too much stiffness.
And I think she does pretty much suggest that if your fabric is stable enough, then you probably don't need to use it. And I'm really glad that I didn't, because previously I probably always have used interfacing in my facing. I mean, that's generally the way I've gone. So it was quite, good to not use it and it to work out really well. I think it gives it a softer feel. Like you say, it's an everyday top. You're going to wash it lots. You want to have that kind of soft, nice to wear kind of feel to it, and it works.
And the fact that it is all in one, so it sort of sits exactly where you want it to sit. So I don't think it needs that extra structure.
Yeah. No, I
don't
agree.
know.
But if I was
making
making it out of a silk or a rayon, I definitely would interface.
You would? I don't know.
I would. I definitely would. And I'd probably put a little strip.
I'd do the strip
around the neckline.
I'd
so
do
it
the
doesn't
strip.
Stretch out.
I don't know. Like, what interfacing would you use if it was silk?
You can actually get a sheer interfacing, which is very, very kind of like subtle, I guess.
Okay.
It's very lightweight. And that's the key thing, a woven, lightweight interfacing.
Yeah.
So you hardly notice it, but it just gives the fabric. I mean, and it would depend on the fabric, but if it looks like it's going to be a pain, then I think interfacing is like your insurance policy with a fabric like that.
I don't know. I feel like silk is, I don't know, when you touch the silk,
it's true.
It's just so drapey, and I guess it would make it a lot easier to sew if you did have that interfacing.
Yeah. I guess, look, I think we've touched on this in a previous podcast, but for me, a big thing about sewing a garment, before I even go anywhere near the garment, is I take a scrap of the fabric and I put it under my machine, and I check the thread, I check the stitch length, I check that the needle's going to work. I put a piece maybe with interfacing on if I'm not sure because it's not stitching so well. I play around, and I think that's I know we want to get on with what we're making, but I think that's a really worthwhile exercise in making sure that you're going to get good results.
Oh, definitely.
And then, you can actually compare, take two samples, one sewn with the interfacing, one without the interfacing. Which one looks better? Which one feels better?
Yeah.
And then make a decision.
With my second one, which is also a linen, I didn't change the needle because I was like, I'm just going to, do it really quickly because I know how to sew it because I just sewed one. And I didn't change the needle, and I don't know what I was sewing last time, but then the needle was too thick for the fine fabric, and it was pushing it into the feed dogs, and it was eating it, and so
it was time for a needle change.
Yes, and I changed it to a nice sharp Microtex after that.
And what about oiling your machine, Kylie? How often do you oil your machine?
Well, I have a couple of different machines. The more modern Berninas, they don't need a lot of oil, and they only, they tell you when to put it in.
True.
And you only need a little drop, and that's a synthetic oil, which is different from my other machine, which is I have a vintage Bernina, which needs the older type, and I pretty much oil that before I use it every time because it is just this beautiful piece of machinery, and it just purrs, and it's the nicest thing to sew on ever. do you?
Well, I was asking you because I was feeling guilty myself about the fact that I don't really oil mine very often. But I have a modern Bernina. I don't know if mine does tell me when it needs oiling.
I'm
Maybe
actually
mine's-
out of the oil of. I don't have
Okay.
any of that oil at the moment.
Yeah, the little pen.
Yeah, the
cute
little pen.
Yeah. But I mean, if I'm usually I oil my machine when I'm having a fight with some fabric because then I'm like, right, tick off all the boxes, do all the things. Otherwise, I forget.
Do you have a straight stitch plate?
Yes.
Yes, because I swapped over.
That's another really good tip for fabric not getting sucked. So if you don't know, a straight stitch plate is basically the plate that goes in the base of your machine, but the hole for the needle is literally just enough room for the needle and nothing else. So you can't get fabric being sucked down into it. But whatever you do,
Don't do zigzag.
don't do zigzag. We've all been there.
Yeah, because it's called a straight stitch plate,
Yeah.
and it's called that because
Yeah.
you can only have the needle in one position only.
Yeah.
You can't move it to the left or the right. It has to be in that middle.
It has to be
Yeah.
through that hole, or you'll be changing your needle.
Yeah. Yeah. If you were going to make a silk version of this, I would definitely use a straight
That's a good
stitch plate.
Yeah.
And then the bigger the machine is, like especially if we're talking about Berninas, the bigger machines have an even bigger hole, like that rectangular hole is
Yes.
bigger than my smaller one.
Because the foot's wider.
Yeah, so you can have a wider stitch and everything, but there's a lot more chance of your fabric going in there than
True.
with the smaller hole. So
Yeah.
that's all. And then you might want to change your foot. You might want to use a walking foot.
Yeah, that's another option.
You might want to
Yeah.
use a different foot altogether. You might want to use an edge foot, or depending on what you're doing.
What you're doing, yeah.
And that is really important because when you're sewing, it's just really important.
Just really
I'm
important.
not going to tell you why.
That has to be a blooper, surely.
We just went over why it was so important that you know why you're doing stuff.
But it just is.
Just test it. Just test first, because if you don't test, you're going to
Yeah.
screw up the fabric. You always end up with scraps. So
Yeah.
you may as well test that.
I think stitch length is something that people don't play around with enough.
Yes.
I would just say, I've just been stitching something out of a really quite thick fabric, and I've had to increase my stitch length quite a lot, and it made such a difference. So that's but probably not necessarily relevant to a linen in the Ashton top, but this definitely something worth playing around with.
When you're sewing a seam, you use like a 2.5. Yeah. And then top stitching,
Bit longer.
Yeah, like a 2.9.
And a very fine lightweight fabric, I might lower it slightly to like a 2 to make sure, depends. But again, I would have played around with it before, had a look at the two options, seen which looks best.
Oh yeah, and what about darts? Because
When you sewing a dart,
everyone does their darts differently.
This is a really
This is what I do.
good topic. What do you do?
I start at the edge at the 2.5 and then sew towards the apex. And as I'm getting closer, an inch or 2 centimeters or something, I turn the stitch length down to like 2 or even lower, and then just sew right off the edge and then leave the tails. I don't even tie it.
I do exactly that, except I chain off, so I keep going off, and then I lift up the foot and I go back into the bit that's not going to be part of the garment, and I do a couple of extra, make sure it's a nice long loop, and do a couple of extra stitches in that part just to hold it.
Do that. Don't do what I do. That's better.
I don't know.
Well, what this works is, I don't know. I haven't had any darts come undone.
Do you tie it? No, because it's such a small stitch. It's probably already it's held in place. But I guess mine's just like the insurance policy, like keep going and then lift up your foot and the needle, put it back under, just the flap, if you like, the bit that's been folded.
The triangle thing.
Just the triangle thing, and stitch like maybe 2 or 3 stitches in there and then cut it.
Yep. That's a great method.
Okay, cool.
But definitely
I'm glad
like
I passed.
lowering the stitch length. And the reason you lower the stitch length is so that when you go to press it, your it locks it all in and it holds that tight.
Another question for you. When you get right to that end, do you just stitch off?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, if you've done a bust adjustment, you have to be a bit more careful about how you come off the dart because often you're sewing a bigger dart, a wider dart. So my advice would be to when you come nearer the end, really, really gradually get further to the fold, towards the fold of the fabric, and then actually just do a couple of stitches right on the fold and then come off, and then you'll get a much smoother dart.
I guess I naturally do that because I know that I don't want like a pointy thing.
Exactly.
My dart's so small.
It matters less if you've got a smaller dart, I think.
Yeah, I try and go almost parallel for the last few stitches on that parallel to the fold until you're just off, and then I just kind of like ease off and then give it a good press with the ham. You got a ham?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And I've got all the tools. Yeah. Ham and a clapper. And yeah, I think
we should say, what is a ham? That sounds silly. What's a ham and a clapper? Our producer here's like got a puzzled look on his face.
Should we ask him?
Yeah. What do you think a ham is? What would a ham in sewing be?
Yeah, I've only got one in the fridge. That's the only place I know a ham.
What about a clapper?
Yeah.
That sounds like a children's toy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But no, neither of those. It's
a ham is a really good thing to have.
Ham is great. Yeah.
It looks like a ham. It's like a I don't know, like a ovalish type shaped thing. A lot of them have like tartan fabric on one, so like a red plaid, and then like just a canvasy white. And it's used for pressing the dart or other
any curves,
so that you're not pressing it directly on your ironing board, which won't give you the right sort of shaping.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one, because I didn't have one when I first started sewing, I just used my husband's rolled up, socks, like his winter socks, wool ones, and then I probably ruined them.
Yeah. Well, you're basically effectively creating a boob. And I didn't know. Well, I think I read this the other day. I hope I'm right in saying this. But the tartan side is meant to be when you're pressing wool, and the other side is meant to be, I think, for when you're pressing cotton and linen and things like that. But I never do that. I always just use the tartan side.
Ah. And you can use every angle of it. Like you can use the
turn
front,
it on its side.
You can do the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good tool to have.
And a clapper. So a clapper is basically, it's a piece of wood. And what you do with a clapper is when you're pressing seams and any seam or press line that you want to be a permanent feature of a garment is when you use a clapper. So you put the iron on it and you get the heat into that area.
And the
steam. And then you get the clapper and you press it down. And the idea is that wood holds the heat and the moisture and everything into that crease line, for longer, so that it becomes a more permanent fixture to the garment. And I've actually got a clapper and a point presser on the top, so it acts like a nice handle. And the good thing about the point presser is you can use the little tip of it to get in those really tricky bits. If you want to press a seam open, for example, on a collar or a tricky corner, they work really well for that.
Yeah. I don't have one like that. I have one I have a clapper. I don't know if you could even call it that. It's literally a piece of wood that's been sanded.
Yeah,
and
perfect.
it's not a shape like a clapper's generally like a bit of a rounded rectangle.
Yeah.
And it's made out of like birch wood or something.
Yeah,
is that what they're normally made out of? Yeah, this is just made out of pine, and it's just a square thing, but I've like rounded the edges. And it works. And I did read when I first did make it that you can actually like when you do the steam and then you actually like
clap,
whack it.
Oh, there you go.
And when you whack it, you kind of like setting it.
There you go.
As well.
Yeah, we
good for flat-felled seams on a business shirt or something.
Yeah.
Or like a placket or pockets, anything that you want to stay really creased.
Yeah.
And you can notice a difference if you do it on one seam and not on another. It stays.
It sounds like madness, right? I'm sure you're thinking we're crazy.
Yeah, surely ironing
I lost you about half an hour ago, to be honest.
But it does make a difference.
It does.
And we have a lovely lady called Judy, and they hand make all these products in orange that we actually sell at Sewing Gem, and that's why I've got all the tools. So, but you don't need to have that. Like you say, a piece of wood would work perfectly well for that.
Yeah, but I think you sell those, don't you?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I should go and get them now and just demonstrate them to,
Yeah. Clap.
Yeah.
There's another thing that's like a clapper. Like, what about the ham, and then there's like the sleeve thing.
Sleeve board.
Like
sleeve roll.
Sleeve roll, yeah.
So exactly the same as a ham. It's made the same way, but it's a long roll that you could put inside a sleeve. So if you wanted to press open a seam on a sleeve, because if you think about it, when you're pressing a sleeve, there's 2 layers there, and you don't want to press that against the other layer that doesn't need to be pressed.
That's right.
So it lifts it up. And you could do that on any garment. You know, when I use a sleeve roll or a sleeve board as well, when I'm putting in a zipper.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be, I want the other layer to be away, and I'm just dealing, let's say it's a dress and I'm putting it in the back. I don't want the front of the dress in my way. So I slip in the board or I slip in the roll, and then I pin in my zipper.
That's a good idea.
So yeah, they've got their uses.
Well, with the hem, it's very good for a bias neckline as well, because your chest, where that neckline is going to sit, that's curved as well. And also because you've kind of contorted that fabric into different positions and you want it to lay nice and flat on your body, it's nice to use the hem under that neckline and also the armhole as well, because
it's a curve again.
It's a curve.
Yeah.
Anything that's a curve, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think that is a tool that would up your sewing garment game. And I think it's something you can get as a beginner and just have forever. Like they last forever, right?
Yeah. And, whether it's going to Bunnings or your hardware store and getting a lump of wood or, either way, it's going to work the same, I assume.
And I do like my the roller, like the seam roller thing.
Oh, see, I haven't used one of those, but maybe I should.
Well, it's really good because this pattern, the Ashton top, also has instructions for doing French seams. So you could do overlocking, French seams, so many different options with this. And the roll and press, it's called Clover. It is really good for doing the French seams because you don't have to keep getting up and going to the ironing board.
Yeah, okay.
You just need to press it open, and then you can trim it. And it just really rolls it open.
I didn't think I needed one, but now I'm going to have to, next time I go to work, trim myself because clearly I do. So I don't have to get up.
Well, yeah. No, it's, French, because you like up and down and up and down, and it's just for like one step at a time. And another customer of mine, Amy, she told me that her cats really like their heads being rolled, and it's true. I tried it on my cats. They like their heads being rolled.
Okay, I'm going to try. I have a cavoodle called Tilly. I reckon she'd like a head roll too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We went a bit off topic there, didn't we?
We certainly did. But,
I felt like that was something you and I were both passionate about. But anyway.
We should probably get to rating the pattern. And it's pretty clear we like this pattern a lot.
We do. Let's bring it back to where we should be.
Okay. Firstly, size inclusivity. Well, this is, the gold standard. It goes from a 0 to a 30, which is... That's like really
and
good.
With a D cup option.
Yes, that's
too.
right.
So I think we should give this a 5-star.
Yes.
Plus, a 5+.
Exactly.
It's really
great.
good. Yeah.
And then
drafting.
Well, the drafting is excellent.
Excellent. There's nothing to fault really. It's great.
Love it.
5?
Yep, 5.
5 out of 5. Instructions. Well, we've talked about these a lot, haven't we, Carly?
It's like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, it's like beyond what needs to be there.
Yes.
It's
more than you need, but it's very informative if you are a newbie, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Difficulty?
I think it's a 2.
2.5 maybe?
Yeah.
2?
Yep.
Yeah.
Depending on the fabric, of course.
And
I would say try a linen first or a cotton.
A nice stable fabric first. And I think that always, we've said this before, but when it comes to difficulty, it always comes down to the fabric. So, play around and see where you're at with it. Price?
It was a mid-range.
Mid-range? Yep. So $2 signs?
$2. And with the 30% off.
I mean,
it's... I would say with the discounts, like the $1 sign.
It's a bargain. Yeah.
Buy it now while you can at that price.
Yeah, absolutely. And overall,
there's no surprises here. You can probably guess that we're going to give this very high rating 5 Sewing Club steps. Well, we keep picking winners.
We do. Go us. No.
Well, the thing is, like, we want to choose patterns that we see that people are making a lot, and then we want to test it to make sure that it lives up to the hype, and that if, we can let you know the tricky parts and share some tips and
And the thing is, I think up to now we have picked fairly, for the most part, basic patterns.
Yep.
And we are going to, start dipping our toe in the water in terms of doing slightly more complex things. And I think that's when it gets, a bit harder to convey things in the instructions or what have you. So, it is a fairly basic top, but everything about it, the drafting, the instructions, everything is just done really well.
Hey, Sally.
Hello.
Hi. Tell us about the next pattern.
Okay, the next pattern is the Pekka jacket pattern by Ready to Sew. Very exciting. So head on over to Ready to Sew and just use the code Sewing Club Podcast. And Raphael has kindly given you 25% off the Pekka jacket pattern. How lovely.
Awesome. It's a lovely looking jacket.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be really comfy and nice to wear.
So, if you make a bigger one, there's a happy recipient sitting right here.
I'll keep that in mind.
I want it.
You try and make the right size, but if not, there is a willing recipient over here.
Oh my goodness. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's like a beautiful
blanket jacket.
Yeah, like gorgeous quilt jacket.
Yeah. It's going to be my house coat, I think, for the next couple of months.
Yeah, I kind of wish that we'd made it already because I'm going camping this weekend and it would be perfect for that.
It would. Perfect for that.
But anyways, there's going to be many opportunities for us to wear.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks so much for listening, everyone. We would love it if you could join our Facebook group, the Sewing Club Podcast Community, where we can share our makes and tips and tricks along the way.
And we have an Instagram as well, which is sewingclub.podcast. We have feedback forms attached to that. You can see our garments in the wild. We post videos there, and we love hearing all the feedback, so keep it coming.
We'd love it if you could subscribe, rate, review the podcast. All of that helps to get this podcast to as many people as possible.
Till next time.
Till next time.
Hello? Are you still here?
Hey guys.
Are you still listening? Well, there's a little bit more. Thanks for hanging on to the very end. Do you wear Ashton tops? And if you do, how many do you have on rotation?
Oh, I totally do. I honestly think I wear the sleeved versions a little bit more. Those ones, I think mostly just because they're a little more recent. We had the sleeve expansion pack come out a couple years after the top. So I have some more recent sleeved makes that I wear pretty frequently, but I probably have about 10 and maybe 70% sleeved and 30% not. And I still love the pattern. I mean, it's the ultimate wearable basic. I think you just really can't have enough of this in your wardrobe and just want it in every color.
Yeah, I think it has the perfect fit. For me, it's fitted here in a good way, and then it has a really nice flare.
Yeah, the flare is really fun. It's almost like a little bell shape, and when you're wearing it, you want to tilt your torso side to side to ring the bell. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
we need to do that in our photo shoot, Carly. Have a little bit of a ding dong.
Ding ding.
Yeah. Let's do it.